It is with concern that I find myself obliged to amply avert on the inaccuracies of Mrs. Piozzi's anecdotes, and perhaps I may be thought to have dwelt too long upon her little collection. But as from Johnson's long residence under Mr. Thrale's roof and his intimacy with her, the account which she has given of him may have made an unfavorable and unjust impression, my duty, as a faithful biographer, has obliged me reluctantly to perform this unpleasing task. Having left the pious negotiation, called it, in the best hands, I shall here insert what relates to it. Johnson wrote to Sir Joshua Reynolds on July 6th, actually the 8th, as follows. I am going, I hope, in a few days to try the air of Derbyshire, but hope to see you before I go. Let me, however, mention to you what I have much at heart. If the Chancellor should continue his attention to Mr. Boswell's request and confer with you on the means of relieving my languid state, I am very desirous to avoid the appearance of asking money upon false pretenses. I desire you to represent to his lordship what, as soon as it is suggested, he will perceive to be reasonable, that if I grow much worse, I shall be afraid to leave my physicians, to suffer the inconveniences of travel, and pine in the solitude of a foreign country, that if I grow much better, of which indeed there is now little appearance, I shall not wish to leave my friends and my domestic comforts, for I do not travel for pleasure or curiosity. Yet if I should recover, curiosity would revive. In my present state I am desirous to make a struggle for a little longer life, and hope to obtain some health from a softer climate. Do for me what you can. He wrote to me on July 26th. I wish your affairs could have permitted a longer and continued exertion of your zeal and kindness. They that have your kindness may want your ardor. In the meantime, I am very feeble and very dejected. By a letter from Sir Joshua Reynolds, I was informed that the Lord Chancellor had called on him and acquainted him that the application had not been successful, but that his lordship, after speaking highly in praise of Johnson as a man who was an honor to his country, desired Sir Joshua to let him know that on granting a mortgage of his pension, he should draw on his lordship to the amount of £500 or £600, and that his lordship explained the meaning of the mortgage to be that he wished the business to be conducted in such a manner that Dr. Johnson should appear to be under the least possible obligation. Sir Joshua mentioned that he had by the same post communicated all this to Dr. Johnson. How Johnson was affected upon the occasion will appear from what he wrote to Sir Joshua Reynolds. Ashbourne, September 9th. Many words, I hope, are not necessary between you and me to convince you what gratitude is excited in my heart by the Chancellor's liberality and your kind offices. I have enclosed a letter to the Chancellor, which, when you have read it, you will be pleased to seal with a head or any other general seal and convey it to him. Had I sent it directly to him, I should have seemed to overlook the favor of your intervention. To the Lord High Chancellor. Sir Joshua Reynolds, on account of the excellence both of the sentiment and expression of this letter, took a copy of it, which he showed to some of his friends, one of whom, perhaps Lady Lucan, who admired it, being allowed to peruse it leisurely at home. A copy was made and found its way into the newspapers and magazines. It was transcribed with some inaccuracies. I print it from the original draft in Johnson's own handwriting. So to the Lord High Chancellor. My Lord, after a long and not inattentive observation of mankind, the generosity of your lordship's offer raises in me not less wonder than gratitude. Bounty so liberally bestowed, I should gladly receive, if my condition made it necessary. For to such a mind, who would not be proud to own his obligations? But it has pleased God to restore me to so great a measure of health that if I should now appropriate so much of a fortune destined to do good, I could not escape for myself the charge of advancing a false claim. My journey to the continent, though I once thought it necessary, was never much encouraged by my physicians, and I was very desirous that your lordship should be told of it by Sir Joshua Reynolds as an event very uncertain. For if I grew much better, I should not be willing, if much worse, not able to migrate. Your lordship was first solicited without my knowledge, but when I was told that you were pleased to honor me with your patronage, I did not expect to hear of a refusal. Yet as I have had no long time to brood hope, and have not rioted in imaginary opulence, this cold reception has been scarce a disappointment. And from your lordship's kindness I have received a benefit which only men like you are able to bestow. I shall now live Mihai Carrier, more dear to myself, with a higher opinion of my own merit. I am, my lord, your lordship's most obliged, most grateful, and most humble servant. September 8, 1784, Sam Johnson. Upon this unexpected failure, I abstained from presuming to make any remarks or to offer any conjectures. Having, after repeated reasonings, brought Dr. Johnson to agree to my removing to London, and even to furnish me with arguments in favor of what he had opposed, I wrote to him requesting he would write them for me. He was so good as to comply, and I shall extract this part of his letter to me of June 11th, as a proof how well he could exhibit a cautious yet encouraging view of it. Quote, I remember, and entreat you to remember, that virtus est vitium, or I guess virtus est virtium fugere, to flee vice is the beginning of virtue, from Horace's epistles. The first approach to riches is security from poverty. The condition on which you have my consent to settle in London is that your expense never exceeds your annual income. Fixing this basis of security, you cannot be hurt, and you may be very much advanced. The loss of your Scottish business, which is all that you can lose, is not to be reckoned as any equivalent to the hopes and possibilities that open here upon you. If you succeed, the question of prudence is at an end. Everybody will think that done right which ends happily. And though your expectations, of which I would not advise you to talk too much, should not be totally answered, you can hardly fail to get friends who will do for you all that your your present situation allows you to hope. And if, after a few years, you should return to Scotland, you will return with a mind supplied by various conversation and many opportunities of inquiry, with much knowledge and materials for reflection and instruction. Let us now contemplate Johnson 30 years after the death of his wife, still retaining for her all the tenderness of affection. To the Reverend Mr. Bargshaw at Bromley. Sir, perhaps you may remember that in the year 1753, or 1752 actually, you committed to the ground my dear wife. I now entreat your permission to lay a stone upon her, and have sent this inscription that, if you find it proper, you may signify your allowance. You will do me a great favor by showing the place where she lies, that the stone may protect her remains. Mr. Ryland will wait on you for the inscription, and procure it to be engraved. You will easily believe that I shrink from this mournful office. When it is done, if I have strength remaining, I will visit Bromley once again and pay your part of the respect to which you have a right from, Reverend Sir, your most humble servant, July 12th, 1784, Sam Johnson. There's a footnote here that says this inscription is printed in his works on page 150, I guess. On the same day, he wrote to Mr. Langton, I cannot but think that in my languid and anxious state, I have some reason to complain that I receive from you neither inquiry nor consolation. You know how much I value your friendship, and with what confidence I expect your kindness, if I wanted any act of tenderness that you could perform. At least, if you do not know it, I think your ignorance is your own fault. Yet how long is it that I have lived almost in your neighborhood without the least notice? I do not, however, consider this neglect as particularly shown to me. I hear 2 of your most valuable friends make the same complaint. But why are all thus overlooked? You are not oppressed by sickness. You are not distracted by business. If you are sick of leisure. And allow yourself to be told that no disease is more to be dreaded or avoided. Rather, to do nothing than to do good is the lowest state of a degraded mind. Boileau said to his pupil, Que les vers ne solent pas votre eternal emploi, cultivez vos amis. I neither know how to read or understand French, so I don't know what that says, but we'll have to look it up later. That voluntary debility, which modern language is content to term indolence, will, if it is not counteracted by resolution, render in time the strongest faculties lifeless and turn the flame to the smoke of virtue. I do not expect nor desire to see you, because I am much pleased to find that your mother stays so long with you, and I should think you neither elegant nor grateful if you did not study her gratification. You will pay my respects to both the ladies and to all the young people. I am going northward for a while to try what help the country can give me, but if you will write the letter, will come after me. Next day, he set out on a jaunt to Staffordshire and Derbyshire, flattering himself that he might be in some degree relieved. During his absence from London, he kept up a correspondence with several of his friends, from which I shall select what appears to be proper for publication, without attending nicely to chronological order. To Mr. Blockelsley, he writes, Ashburn, July 20th. The kind attention which you have so long shown to my health and happiness makes it as much a debt of gratitude as a call of interest to give you an account of what befalls me when accident recovers or removes me from your immediate care. The journey of the first day was performed with very little sense of fatigue. The second day brought me to Lichfield without much lassitude, but I am afraid that I could not have borne such violent agitation for many days together. Tell Dr. Huberton that in the couch I read Ciceronianus, which I concluded as I entered Lichfield. My affection and understanding went along with Erasmus, except that once or twice he somewhat unskillfully entangles Cicero's civil or moral with his rhetorical character. I stayed 5 days at Lichfield, but being unable to walk, had no great pleasure, and yesterday, the 19th, I came hither, where I am to try what air and attention can perform. Of any improvement in my health I cannot yet please myself with the perception. The asthma has no abatement. Opiates stop the fit, so as that I can sit and sometimes lie easy, but they do not now procure me the power of motion, and I am afraid that my general strength of body does not increase. The weather indeed is not benign, but how low is he sunk whose strength depends upon the weather? I am now looking into Floyer, who lived with his asthma to almost his 90th year. His book, By Want of Order, is obscure, and his asthma, I think, not of the same kind with mine. Something, however, I may perhaps learn. My appetite still continues keen enough. In what I consider as a symptom of radical health, I have a voracious delight in raw summer fruit, of which I was less eager a few years ago. You will be pleased to communicate this account to Dr. Heberton, and if anything is to be done, let me have your joint opinion. Now, abite curae. Hence, worries. Let me inquire after the club. Footnote here that says, at the Essex Head, Essex Street was the club. July 31st. Not recollecting that Dr. Heberton might be at Windsor, I thought your letter long in coming. But, you know, nasciture petunter, juvenile satires, we ask things hurtful. The letter which I so much desired tells me that I have lost one of my best and tenderest friends. Oh, who died then? Let's see. Mr. Allen, the printer, died, for those telling us. My comfort is that he appeared to live like a man that had always before his eyes the fragility of our present existence, and was therefore, I hope, not prepared to meet his judge. Your attention, dear sir, and that of Dr. Heberton, to my health is extremely kind. I am loath to think that I grow worse, and cannot fairly prove, even to my own partiality, that I grow much better. August 5th. I return you thanks, dear sir, for your unwearied attention, both medicinal and friendly, and hope to prove the effect of your care by living to acknowledge it. August 12th. Pray be so kind as to have me in your thoughts, and mention my case to others as you have opportunity. I seem to myself neither to gain nor lose strength. I have lately tried milk, but have yet found no advantage, and am afraid of it merely as a liquid. My appetite is still good, which I know is dear Dr. Heberton's criterion of the vis vitae, living force. As we cannot now see each other, do not omit to write, for you cannot think with what warmth of expectation I reckon the hours of a post day. August 14th. I have hitherto sent you only melancholy letters. You will be glad to hear some better account. Yesterday the asthma perceptibly remitted, and I moved with more ease than I have enjoyed for many weeks. May God continue his mercy. This account I would not delay, because I am not a lover of complaints or complainers. In it I have, since we parted, uttered nothing till now but terror and sorrow. Write to me, dear sir. And perhaps we'll end tonight on Johnson feeling slightly better, because we all know he's going to die in less than 100 pages now. I guess less than 60 pages. So until next time, bye from Boswell.